flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rate as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call a police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
the struggle, the ASU strike.
Minister of Education volunteered and said,
Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
the legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rate as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call a police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
the struggle, the ASU strike.
Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.
Good morning and welcome to Africa South Fridays Breakfast Show Global Morning. My name is Anthony Momodu saying welcome to the very important day, the 13th day of November 2024. And we're glad to know you're there and joining us on this very beautiful day. We intend to make a day even more beautiful. I'm not alone. I've got my co-anchor right here looking beautiful as usual.
Good morning, Anthony Momodu. It's great to be here. It's a beautiful Wednesday morning. The weather is beautiful. It's freshing and it's refreshing, and it's just great to be here. Good morning to each and every one of you. I am Jumai Manson. Of course, I am co-hosting with Anthony Momodu this beautiful day. So what's making rounds, Anthony?
All right, I've got some very interesting stories, but like to say, health is wealth. So just to sort of a reminder, tomorrow is the 14th day, so it means tomorrow is a very instrumental day in the health of the world globally, and tomorrow is the World Diabetes Day, and globally is estimated that around 422 million adults, have diabetes, so it means it's a very important day. And so this is a way of trying to drum into people the need for checkups so that you can, manage this situation.
Yes, it is. And of course, for individuals out there to understand that this is creating awareness for people to know that diabetes is real and being diagnosed with it. It's a very real and important. It can lead to death,
Yeah, definitely.
So it's better we create that awareness, that people are enlightened to understand that it's out there, but creating that awareness on how to manage it so you can actually live longer. It's a very important factor.
All right, that's well said already. So we'll be looking at that issue. And also today in history, tells us about in 2015 where there was an attack in Paris, talking about the Paris attack on this day in history in 2015. Such a very bad memory where about media company was said to have been attacked by some terrorists. That's talking about 2015 terrorist attack in Paris, a series of coordinated terrorist attacks that included suicide bombs and mass shootings took place in France's capital city. France was shaken on January 7, that's 2015, by a deadly assault on the offices of a satiric magazine, Charlie Hebdo, and so we tend to remember that incident, very sad incident, and it had to do with a little bit of religion tint. So it tells you there's need for everyone to be cautious when it has to do with religion.
Yeah, of course, religion is very sensitive. It's a very sensitive matter, and for as much as you want to talk about it, there should be an atom of respect. What you believe in, I might not believe in, and what I believe, you might not. So there should be that mutual respect, so it wouldn't spare any violence. Now, see what it has cost already. So people should just be respectful of religion. It's very sensitive, Anthony. It shouldn't be delved into as a mere statement, or you have to go gently when it comes to
I think this is where the clergymen on both sides also have to play their role in trying to educate people to know that it's more than just taking lives. We can't play God. We would do the right thing so that nobody gets killed unnecessarily. All right, away from France, coming down to Nigeria, there's a report that says no fewer than 971 Nigerians were abducted across the country in October 2024. That's just last month. That's really on the high side and really scary. 971 in just 1 month. So you can imagine what has happened, especially with the revelation that coming amidst the emergence of this new group, Lukarawa's group. But the Arewa Consultative Forum came out to say that group has been in existence since around 2016, 2017, and the DSS did have a truce with them to say, okay, leave peacefully or you get attacked. But it's sad that they have re-emerged. So the question is, didn't the DSS do a better job of keeping an eye on them from that 2016 up to date? Because if they had done that, they would have known that, okay, these terrorists are re-emerging or regrouping, and before they started the killing that we see in the northern part of the country. And it's really sad that most times when this killing starts, it begins from the northern part of the country. So it tells you they're taking advantage of two things, coming from the dress code, the culture, and the borderlines. So it's something we have the security agencies have to work on.
Yes, they really need to work on. It's just unfortunate that this particular insurgent group has decided to creep up again. I'll say creep up after much dialogue had been done back then, years back. It's just unfortunate this is where we are in the country, and it means security agencies have to step up on their game when it comes to issues like this. Because some of these terrorist groups, they do not understand dialogue. They feel, okay, it's just a mere you say, I say, and that is, and now they've crept up again. And maybe the dialogue wasn't met in their own favor or something, or they didn't meet at a verge where there's an understanding. It's just unfortunate that this has come, and I hope it hasn't come to stay. But I believe that security agencies will do the needful when it comes to curbing this particular insurgents group. Very important.
All right, hopefully I will be joined very soon by Ben Shiman, who is with the African Service of Deutsche Welle, to help us look at what the papers are saying this morning about really scary as regards the fact that 64.92%, approximately 559 incidences were attributed to security threats in October alone. So it tells you a lot of things really happening. And yesterday, let's move on the lighter note. Yesterday was historic for the ancient city of Edo State, where the new governor-elect, now the governor taking over as the substantive governor of Edo State in the person of Senator Monday Okpeholo. And just smile on your face. Okay, now you're from Edo State.
Come out and say, okay, this or this, okay, that. We have our own personal opinion.
No, but at this stage where he's already assumed office, you can spill the beans.
You can spill the beans. Of course, we've always known, everyone has always known that I have been a veteran when it comes to, when you see someone that has what it takes, you just know that this person will come and will deliver and will conquer. I'm glad.
Wait, are you saying looking at Senator Okpeholo? No, I'm just not this spot. I'm just by the side.
My own opinion.
No, I'm just looking at you have a charismatic Godwin Obaseki, and you have a man. Lots of them said he couldn't talk, or he's not very vocal during the campaign.
Action, it's all. Can't you see it's eminent that he's less
more action?
Of course, he is more action. Okay,
wouldn't that be scary?
Let's quickly go on the breakdown. Anthony was very on the spot, which is not fair at all.
All right, I will go for a quick break. When we return from break, we'll be talking with Ben Shiman, who is with the Deutsche Welle section of the African Service, to help us look at what the papers are saying this morning. Stay with us. All right, welcome back. You're still watching Global Money, and it's now time for us to look at some top issues making the rounds in the papers. We're looking at from the Daily Post. We've got some very interesting talking points as regards the number of Nigerians abducted in the month of October alone. 971 is what the statistics say. All right, we told you we'll join via Zoom by Ben Shimang of the African Service of Deutsche Welle joining us via Zoom. Good morning, Shimang. Thank you for joining us on the Breakfast Show.
Good morning.
All right. Share with you the story coming out from the Daily Post as regards the recent report, security report coming out saying that no fewer than 971 Nigerians were abducted across the country in October 2024. Looking at these statistics, especially with the re-emergence of the Lakurua terrorist group, how do you think Nigeria is faring in terms of dealing with the insecurity in the country?
Well, I think that for the security agencies to have identified the new, let me call it that way, even though the natives there in Sokoto, KB, are actually saying that the sect is really not new, or the terrorist group is really not new. But one is also worried as to the number of those that were kidnapped within the month of October. Even though in terms of statistics, there are some villages where kidnapping take place that truly are not reported. Because I know in some villages, some areas where I come from, you go hear of kidnappings that are really local and they don't get reported. But having said so, I think on the part of the security, it's like somewhere, somehow, some people fail to do their jobs the way it ought to be. When you had this sector, the Luka Waras, or what is it, Luka Waras, when they came in, by their mode of dressing, they don't have trousers that are full length. They are almost quarter length. They are bearded. They have long kaftans. And they begin to tell people that they cannot preach the way it ought to be done by the Holy Quran, and they could overthrow an imam. And so when you had all these warning signals, I mean, some people ought to have also told authorities. In every local government, you have state operatives of these security services. At that point, they ought to have reported. And you also have the intelligence unit of the security agencies, either Air Force, Army, or Navy. They have them. You also have the police themselves. They also have the intelligence reports. So at what point was there no reports? Or were there reports that some people simply felt they should sleep or push them under the carpet? So many things went wrong. And that is why today we are taken by surprise. They have even started attacks, 16 people killed, and many more have been affected. When people begin to hoist different flags, different from what is Nigerian green, white, green, it says a lot. And when they begin to preach a kind of a religion that is different from the normal norm that we know, then something is wrong somewhere. So who failed in terms of reporting to the authorities? And you know, and we are also hearing that they've been there for at least a year. So what happened?
All right, let's look at the issue that it's been said that the DSS reached a truce with this same terrorist organization around 2016, telling them to leave peacefully or get attacked. Would you say the DSS failed in its duties in keeping an eye on this terrorist group since 2015 or 2016 to ensure that if there was any plan for this same group to regroup, they would have nipped it on the bud way before the greater killings they are, perpetrated in the northern region currently?
You see, Anthony, let's go back to this same period you're talking about. There was, no, earlier than that, the governor then of Niger State, Babangida Aliu, actually realized that there was Ansaruddin or a sect like that, and they had formed camps in Niger State. All he did was to get the security operatives, got trailers, got buses, and simply disperse them. Go back to wherever you're going to. And at that point, people said, oh, there were human rights abuses and all that. The man said he was the chief security officer of the state. So he ensured that they were scattered. So in this case, if people realize that there were strange faces within their environment, it was their duty to report. A situation where they begin to flock imams, that they don't know how to preach the Islamic way. I mean, we've not had it this way in Nigeria. For some foreigners to come from Mali, from Niger, and they just simply enter Nigeria and begin to impose their own law on us, it is so abnormal to the extent that SSS will not have time to begin to negotiate. It was time to look for a superior power and to just deal with them. And that was it. Today, if care is not taken, they can simply spread and become a very big power to reckon with. Because we're talking about Boko Haram here, we're talking about ISWAP, that's the Islamic State of a West African province. They all are in Nigeria. Now you have this new sect coming. If this tripartite they kind of begin to unleash mayhem in Nigeria, I tell you, it's not going to be a tea party for the country.
That's talking point. What for you? What would be the best approach for the Nigerian security architecture to be able to handle these people or mop them up once and for all, rather than dilly-dally with them? How key is the synergy amongst all the security formations for them to be able to ensure that this group does not fester further?
Yeah, you see, when you talk of the security architecture of Nigeria, it starts from the president. And of course, the Security Council will have to be involved. Talking of the service chiefs led by the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa. Then you also have to involve the National Security Advisor. Then you come to all other agencies, whether paramilitary or military, in terms of securing Nigeria. So synergy, yes, there has to be, because each has a role to play. And it is only when each has played its own role that you now have a complete set in terms of ensuring that there is a security of the country. So we want the army to be in charge of the grounds as effective as possible. As per the air, of course, we have the army, the Air Force, sorry, that will take care of that. But in taking care of all of these things, you also have to know the environment. Where you have Sokoto, Kebbi, for example, the ground is so porous that at the point, some of this heavy equipment, MRAPs, armored personnel carriers, the MRAPs, they are too heavy, they'll get sink. So at what do we then use? Sometimes, since they also use the motorcycles, there's no point that we also don't use the motorcycles. We use light vehicles too, armed, and with the air cover, I'm sure we'll reach somewhere. Then intelligence sharing. Once you see anything, we use the traditional institution, because the farmers will always know who has entered into their farm. They begin to report to village head to district head to the emir, and from the emir it goes to local government chairman, the governor, and governor it comes up to the highest level, talking of the entire security network or the architecture. If it's not done that way, that every agency is now showing that, no, we are in charge, we know it better than the other, then there's no synergy, and Nigeria will be worse for it. We want them to work together, and that is how it's supposed to be. That's the spirit. And that's why, even in NDA, for example, it's a tripartite institution. If you go to the Armed Forces Command and Staff College, Jaji, it's a tripartite institution. You go to the World Defense College, it's a tripartite institution. In other words, Army, Navy, Air Force, and even the police, immigration, they all are in some of these training institutions, so that they begin to teach them what it takes to have joint operations to ensure the enemy is routed and brought to justice.
One of the top stories again in the papers this morning has to do with the inauguration of the Edo State Governor, in the person of Senator Moyo Peholo. Let's look at the inauguration, the aftermath, and expectations of the Edo people. Will you say you've been impressed with the back and forth between the outgone and the incoming government? First of all, there was issue of disparity when both parties met trying to align. Then also the issue of non-invitation of the outgoing governor. Then also the alleged 5 billion expended just for the inauguration. How do you see the incoming government, the burden before them, and the expectations from the people?
Unfortunately, Anthony, very, very unfortunate. You realize that this mudslinging will continue. How is it going to continue? The incoming governor will be there trying to read files, trying to kind of blackmail the outgone government. They did this, they didn't do that. And in doing that, time is gone. Look, the new governor, the senator, should just hit the ground running. What is it that the Edo people want? Look at the environment, for example. Look at gully erosions around some areas in Edo State. Now you look at the school needs, educational needs of the Edo person. You look at the health needs of the Edo person. You look at the agricultural need, food security. Look, these are things people should be looking out for. But when you go into a government, you are still talking as if you have not won an election. You have simply decided there is we and them, we versus them. There is a line of demarcation, and it's not even a thin line. It is a very wide gap that people must know that is an enemy camp and this is a friendly camp. And it spells doom for the Edo people. I think it shouldn't be. My in-laws, my daughter is married there. It shouldn't be a doom for the Edo people. They should take a lead from what is happening in Rivers State. Is Rivers State of the best of the best? So when you had the stakeholders, the movers and shakers, some will say caterpillars and bulldozers of Edo state government, the Oshumoles of this world, I think that time has come that there should be cooling down of nerves. What do we do to move Edo State forward? The big heart of the nation, So we have to have a good governance, not a kind of looking back, let's begin to destroy them. No, do your dance. The stage, you are now on stage. People will grade you based on what you have done or what you are doing, so that the Edo State person will have it better.
Or do you expect the eventual probe of the outgone governor in the person of Godwin Obaseki? Because it's been rumored before now, even the governor, outgone governor did come out to say he expects to be arrested by the EFCC once he has left office.
Well, it's not a new thing. Many other governors have been invited. You go clear your name. Once your conscience is clear, you have nothing to fear at all. But if your conscience is not clear and there were bad deeds, you can't hide behind your finger. Just the way I am, I cannot hide behind my finger. But the moment the outgone governor knows it's okay, there's nothing to fear about. But again, there's also limit as to how people want to use this immunity clause. I can go into executive recklessness covered by immunity. But you should know your immunity has a limitation, 4 years or 8 years. And within a twinkle of an eye, 8 years are gone, just like they are now gone. So if the governor didn't have any skeleton in his cupboard, nothing to fear. But again, the incoming governor, don't waste your time over blaming. When APC came on board, they were busy blaming PDP, blame Buhari, spent the whole 8 years blaming PDP. And that's why if you check today, the government of Tinubu is really not wasting time blaming PDP, because these politicians, PDP became a very big school. Check many of the people in APC, they are PDP breed, and PDP has never changed a name. They all are there. So some will leave and return. It's like they've gone on attachment somewhere to go land something and come back. PDP is still there. Nigeria is still constant. They should learn that Nigeria needs to survive. Nigerians need to survive. Give us what you want. Don't win an election and begin to continue with campaigns. I remember just 3 days ago, the National Publicity Secretary of the APC was saying that Tinubu is still going to win. When Tinubu is just 2 years into his regime of 4 years, you are already talking of the next elections. It shouldn't be. Give us what you call dividends of governance, so that we put you on a scale and give you marks. And we know 2027, you are there for good.
The top stories on the Daily Post, which talks about the National Population Commission. The NPC said it will operate electronic civil registration and vital statistics, the ECRVS systems in 141 centers in Lagos State. Let's look at this. We've long been waiting for census in Nigeria, and it's taking forever. Do you think this is the way to go if we cannot actually get the census conducted?
Well, I think the pre-election census conducted by the colonial masters it's always been seen as almost the ideal election census in Nigeria. I said almost, but thereafter every other one is always marred by some controversies. In terms of religion, this religion will say, no, we are more than this other religion. People are now saying, look, when the census comes in, the column for religion should just be knocked off. Count people, not religion. Count where they live, not religion, so that you begin to have an idea of the lifestyle people live. It gives you an idea where people live, where to site projects. But when we begin to talk of also tribes, my tribe is bigger, we are larger in number, or we go into regions. No, the region is smaller. Therefore, we can't have states. So no matter the technology you use, we still have to have human beings either manipulating them. There's this thing they call GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. The computer is just there for you. If you want it to minus, it will minus. If you want it to add, it will add. For whatever region, for whatever religion, it will do just that. And so at the point we are hearing that NICOMSAT, we can use it to conduct elections. After all, we've been using it for delineations here and there, and they said it's accurate. If it is that accurate, then we should imbibe it. And technology, we should use it.
In terms of technology, do you think we're well situated to get this domesticated across the different states? If you put into consideration the power issue Nigeria is currently suffering, we've had more than 10 power grid shut down in 2024.
Yeah, you see, in spite of that, people can still be counted. It is the largest single national emergency because everyone is involved. Compared with the election, I can choose not to participate in election. But when it comes to census, whether the person is insane, he has to be counted. Where did you find the person? Maybe, the last one that that was done at the point late in the night, there were some people with special needs, the mad people, people who sleep in the streets. Enumerators went late in the night counting them because at that point they were stable on under bridge or some bridges or some verandas in schools or marketplaces. But the people who they said have houses, you now go one single day from morning to late evening, counting everyone. So yes, science and tech could be used because they said it's going to be accurate. We can give them the benefit of the doubt. We cannot continue to say no to everything. We have to start somewhere. The developed countries, they started somewhere with mistakes and they stabilized. But our own mistakes are becoming almost a daily, do I call it a daily decimal, or almost a norm? So I think we should try to imbibe science the way it ought to be, not manipulating. We manipulate in elections. We manipulate in everything. Even union elections, you see that they are being manipulated using technology. But we can use it positively. It has come to stay. After all, artificial intelligence is here. If we say no, that it doesn't work, I tell you, even what we are using now, you ought to have invited me. I ought to have been in the studio with you, but you see, we are using science and tech. If we can do it that way, we can also do it for census.
Very quick break, and when we return, we'll be going to the global scene where we'll take a quick, your quick take as regards the fact that the judge in the Donald Trump's hush money conviction is delaying his ruling, and we'll be asking you questions as regards that. What do you think is playing out? That will be after this quick break. Please stay with us.
Global Morning is your ultimate destination for engaging political and economic matters. I am Uyi Agmofwebe.
And don't forget to include social discussions. Tune in every weekdays from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. I am Queen Agaba.
For insightful breakfast ideas, business summaries, sports highlights, international and local news perspective, I am Anthony Momodu.
Don't miss the in-depth analysis of current and political issues by the Global Morning team and experts. I am Jumai Manson.
Catch Global Morning here on Global Television. Getting on the action. I am Edikan Michael.
We are
the Global Morning team.
Business Point on Global Television.
The business world can be dynamic and unpredictable, with headwinds and volatility sometimes becoming an obstacle for players in the business and economy landscape. Watch Business Point on Global Television as Samuel Oji walks you through the twists, turns and curves in bands, stocks and crucial market indices from a global standpoint. Watch Business Point weekdays on Global Television at 11 a.m. West African time. Business Point. This is business. This is Imo State, southeast of Nigeria. As the wind of transformation blows across the eastern heartland, Imolites bask in the excitement of landmark developmental strides, cutting across health, education, infrastructure, economy, and job creation.
Welcome back, and it's Global Morning on Global Television. At about this time is the newspaper review, and we're not doing it alone. Of course, we have Mr. Ben Shimag, and he works with the African Service of Deutsche Welle. Good morning, sir. It's great to have you still on the program.
Thank you for having me.
To the newspaper segment now, and we're going on the Daily Independent. We're just going to read some captions and get your take before Tony asks his question about Donald Trump, right, Tony?
Yeah, well.
All right, the first on the Daily Independent here, it says, the star story there says, most challenging economic period now over. Tinubu tells Nigerians, and Governor Okpebolo vows to implement 5-point agenda for Edo growth. And above that, it says NCDC issues alert as Lassa fever, meningitis threats rise across Nigeria. Editors urge federal government to ease impact of fuel subsidy, cut FX validity. Now, on that particular star story that says most challenging economic period now over, Tinubu tells Nigerians, what's your take on that basically? Now that if it's over, why is there so much issues when it comes to the increment of fuel subsidy, unemployment, hike in electricity tariff, and all of that we face today, which is the reality? Do you think this particular caption here really hit the nail on the head compared to what Nigerians are going through at about this time, sir?
Yeah, you see, a president who knows his onions will always give you the assurance that all is well. He cannot come and tell us some helpless or hopeless situations. He has to give us some elements of hope. But it sounds too definite for them to say, oh, it's over. If you say, give us a year, things will be put in place in a better way, I think that is a sellable idea or opinion. Because how is it that it is over now when indeed we are still suffering when it comes to the national grid? We are still suffering very well. How is it over when indeed today you buy petrol? You can't buy petrol less than 1,000 naira a liter. No. So if you're going to Abuja, to Edo State, where elections have, a new governor has taken over, how much fuel will you need for your tank? And how much will you go and give your parents, for example? So is it a better way? Then you look at the potholes in along our roads. Sometimes it baffles me when road safety corps will block you and say they want to see the roadworthiness of your car on paper. And I always ask in a subtle way, okay, now that you have seen that I have the roadworthiness of my car, is this road also worthy for my car to ply there because of these potholes? And also look at where they even stop you to check you. They must stop you where there is a big pothole or a ditch almost where you cannot escape. After all, I escape for what? Armed robbers pursuing me. My papers are always intact. Is Nigeria better when many pensioners are not being paid? You know, if I reach January 1st this year, I've entered my 3rd year as a pensioner. I've not seen a kobo or a dime. Is it better for Nigeria when cost of living, food prices, check 2 bars of yam? Along the roads where we used to have many bands of yam, women selling yam and making it nice, having it nice. When they don't sell the whole yam this day, they leave it till tomorrow. What is happening there? You just go and see charcoal being sold. What is happening to the environment? There is felling of trees. You burn them into charcoal. People cannot buy gas. People cannot buy kerosene. They now resorted to charcoal. It's like we are looking back at that backwards. What is it called? Is it optimism or something like that? When you always prefer the past as compared to today or tomorrow. So is it better today? But maybe there's a small hope when they say, look, we can now sell crude oil to Dangote. We can now stop importation of refined oil we buy here in Nigeria. If that is the case, quite a lot of costs have been cut down, and we hope that it will permeate, it sinks down to the bottomless pit where you have the masses who will now enjoy and say, yes, Tinubu, you have done the best. You are for Nigeria. You are for us, and we are for you. Outside that, well, let's wait and see. You know, Nigerians are always hopeful, very, very hopeful people.
out another story on the Daily Independent that says Governor Okpebholo vows to implement the 5-point agenda for Edo growth. What's your take on that? Him coming out to say it. You know, before you came on the program, Anthony and I, we spoke about Governor Okpebholo. People say he's a man of very few words. He doesn't talk much, but I say he's a man of action. Do you think he'll be able to deliver on that 5-point agenda?
Well, you see, it's too early. When there's going to be a cross-country race or 100-meter dash, and they just said on your marks, and you just said, oh, that guy is a good runner. It's too early for us to judge the new governor. Let us begin to see the 5-point agenda. We look at them. Is there what you call stop gaps? If you say every 6 months, I must have done this distance. Every other 6 months, I'll do this distance. Every year, this is what I must have recovered, or the distance I must have covered. So at that point, that is where we begin to judge him. We also want him to challenge civil society organizations. He said, come, these are my 5 points agenda. Every year, like people will say, 100 days, this is what I must have done. Therefore, everybody will now go there to check the report card. Unlike what we had in Kogi State, when he said within 100 days, he was able to meet with the Students' Union, he met with women leaders, he visited some obas, he visited some this and that. Oh, man, and you call that an achievement in 100 days? And so it's too early, my sister, to start judging Okpebholo that this is what he will do. Is a man of action. Well, he probably was a man in action as a senator. A senator, you just have one senatorial district. Now you're talking of the entire Edo State. And of course, I will have to pass there if they go to Niger Delta area, down River State, I'll probably have to pass there to go to the eastern part of the country. And same with many other people. What are we going to see? Road network. What are we going to see? Security. What are we going to see? Human trafficking, internal and external. Are they going to be stopped? So these are things that the governor should look at. Hospitals, dividends of democracy generally. Farming, we ought to see that they are good.
Now, Anthony would run us through the Daily Sun. Anthony, please go ahead. The Daily Sun.
All right. I think you can.
All right. On the Daily Sun here, the star story there says Anglican Church revolts over same-sex marriage. And above that, it says IMF, World Bank determined to destroy Nigerians' public varsity system, says ASU. And the writer there says, laments government's poor attention to institutions, honors 14 members of outstanding role in struggle. And still on the Daily Sun, it says, federal government, World Bank, others, strategic to bridge financial dividend for 28 million unbanked Nigerians. And on the Daily Sun, it says here, this story now that says from the World Bank, he says, determined to destroy Nigeria's public varsity. That's in the words of ASU. How do you think that is? The words of the IMF and the World Bank, determined to destroy Nigeria's public varsity. And of course, they say they are lamenting that the government's poor attention to institutions honors 4 members of outstanding role in struggle. Do you think the government do not pay attention when it comes to institutions in Nigeria, especially when it comes to the education, not giving that audience to them? We keep going back and forth with issues when it comes to ASU, NASU, and all of that. What's your take on that particular story?
Well, I think I want to see an ASU, a new ASU that will always come on board that does not declare a strike action. I also want to see a government that will be on board that will ensure that ASU does not go on strike. And when they begin to allege, ASU, that IMF or the World Bank are indeed counter-education, counter-university system, Of course, they are researchers. They know better. But again, when you look at some of the tablets that are given to us by these institutions, at the point they tell you, you have to remove subsidy. They have never told America. They have never told Britain. They've never told France to remove subsidy. But when it comes to the developing world, we need this subsidy. They tell you, no, you need more money. If you remove it, therefore you have more money. Now, when you remove that, it is the very causative agent when it comes to the street riots, just like we saw in the End Bad Governance riot that took place, where teenagers or minors were simply hauled to the gulag, you know, a kind of. Again, when you look at the World Bank itself, by the time you are picking up some loans, you're talking of where you have no electricity, and you have to import these same generators that will help your project. Where are you importing it from? From these same people. Then you have to have what they call technical advisors. The technical advisors are coming from where? Recommended by the World Bank. They say these are experts that are tested and trusted. So they think they'll just copy and paste. The World Bank and IMF, they are simply tonics for the developing world. It's just like Karl Marx will say, religion is an opium of the masses. You take that, you get drunk, you don't know what you're doing. It's just the tonic IMF is giving us. If not, tell us how you direct us. I'm not saying advice, direct us to open our gates. You come and buy the raw materials. You carry these raw materials to Europe, go and finish your products. You now come to sell them with us. You sustain the industries over there. Nigerians want to japa, as it has come to stay, to go and work there. You give all sorts of conditions, your work visa, your permission, your
All right, we're back now, and sorry for that little break. Of course, we will continue with Mr. Ben Shemak, but he has actually hit the nail on the head when it comes to all of these issues, Anthony. It's just unfortunate that this is where we find ourselves as Nigerians, but we're just going to quickly run through some of the papers before he comes back, and now it's the Daily Times. And the star story there says, corruption behind frequent national grid collapse. I really wanted him to talk about this particular issue because everyone says it's all about for the grid going down almost all the time. It means people are behind it, and it's just unfortunate that some people want to just extract money from this the national grid always going down. We'll keep going back and forth with this particular issue when it comes to. It's just unfortunate that this is where we find ourselves in the when we talk about the national grid collapse. Just very unfortunate.
I think it's more instrumental now that it's the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission making the statement. So it shows the government has done their investigations and they're sure it's a deliberate sabotage against the nation. So the question should be, now that the EFCC has confirmed that the insistent collapse of the national grid is deliberate, so why don't you arrest these saboteurs and make them face justice? Because obviously this is putting Nigeria in bad light, and also if you check the amount of money we have lost over the 10 times it has collapsed this year alone, it tells you those who work in the engineering or the maintenance sector have serious questions to answer, and at the same time we cannot also put the blame squarely on them. If you notice, the TCN have said that there's this deliberate attack on the infrastructures of the national grid. So it tells you it's also in collaboration with some other vandals who at the end of the benefit by when they steal parts from these grid, they now resell it to the federal government. So obviously it's now becoming a business. So I think the government should do more than just say people are sabotaging the nation. They should be able to, action,
which is very important. So, and hold those who are responsible accountable. It's very important. I keep going back to the president's speech.
Okay.
Yeah, I keep going back to it because he said something about monitoring committee to monitor individuals who are put in place.
I think probably the speech was just meant because if he has said that and we've not seen that speech being carried out over time, then it means there's something that after he made the speech, he didn't follow through to ensure that those things he said were being put into place. It also reminds me of the Nikon-Sat, the satellite we have up there in the space. We're told that the essence of this was for them to monitor everything happening in Nigeria, and so it means whatever action is going on, they should be able to use the satellite. The Nikon-Sat is not just to be up there. These are some of the reasons the Nigeria expended billions to get it up there in the space. So the question is why we're not using it to the full capacity to check this insecurity and this national sabotage.
And that is why it's very important that those who are in these particular sectors should be held accountable when something goes wrong, which is very unfortunate. And like I said, it's not about an individual who is in power. It's about the people who you represent. Like you said, the crash of the national grid always going down. It's not putting Nigeria in a good light. It only shows that people have to be made accountable for issues like that. For EFCC to come out clearly and say it's a corruption tactics, then we should look at it critically and know that it is what it is. All right, now we are going to come back on part 2 of the paper segment when we can. Of course, news, AM News comes up next. Do not go anywhere. Global Morning continues shortly. Stay tuned.
Is your ultimate destination for engaging political and economic matters. I am Uyi Agmofwebe.
And don't forget to include social discussions. Tune in every weekdays from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. I am Queen Agaba.
For insightful breakfast ideas, business summaries, sports highlights, international and local news perspective, I am Anthony Momodu.
Don't miss the in-depth analysis of current and political issues by the Global Morning team and experts. I am Jumai Manson.
Catch Global Morning here on Global Television. Getting on the action. I am Edikan Michael.
We are
the Global Morning team.
Business Point on Global Television.
The business world can be dynamic and unpredictable, with headwinds and volatility sometimes becoming an obstacle for players in the business and economy landscape. Watch Business Point on Global Television as Samuel Oji walks you through the twists, turns and curves in bands, stocks and crucial market indices from a global standpoint. Watch Business Point weekdays on Global Television at 11 a.m. West African time. Business Point. This is business. This is Imo State, southeast of Nigeria. As the wind of transformation blows across the eastern heartland, Imolites bask in the excitement of landmark developmental strides, cutting across health, education, infrastructure, economy, and job creation. Imo State in Focus brings you all the highlights of Governor Hope Uzodinma-led administration's impact on the lives of the good people of Imo State. Imo State in Focus, Sunday at 10:30 p.m. West African time on Global Television.
Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to AM News on Global Television. Coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja, I am Jumai Manson. A quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and free to air on Nicomsat. Now the news in full. Governor of Edo State Senator Monday Okpebolo and his deputy Dennis Idahosa have been sworn in. The Chief Justice of State, Daniel Okuboa, administered the oath to number 1 and 2 citizen of the state as Samuel Ogbemudia Stadium. They both swore to uphold the Constitution and work within its dictates, as well as see to the well-being of the people of Edo State. A delegation from the Nigerian Army led by Major General Kamal Yusuf announced that President Bola Tinubu has ordered a state burial for the late Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tarid Lagbaja. The announcement was made during a condolence visit to the Olabu of Ilobu Agba Ashiru Olaniyo at his palace in Osun State. He described Lagbaja as a dedicated officer who led from the front, noting that the late general's commitments to duty earned him steady promotions throughout his career, culminating in his appointment as Chief of Army Staff. Delivering a condolence letter from the Nigerian Army to Oba Olaniyo, Yusuf expressed the hope that such tragic incidents will not occur again. The technical team of MultiChoice Nigeria has commended management and staff of Global Television for the quality of broadcast it has achieved within a very short period of commencing operations. Uyi Agbomofwegbe tells us more.
Welcoming the team to Global Television's corporate headquarters, Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of the broadcast outfit, Dr. Ibrahim Biu, expressed appreciation to MultiChoice for providing a platform for the medium to aggregate its content.
This visit from the MultiChoice team is encouragement for us, and we want to look at how far so far. And from all indications, I think we're doing very well, and we are proud of what we're doing. So we want to use this opportunity to thank MultiChoice for giving us the opportunity to be on their platform. And we want to assure you that we will continue to improve on what we're doing.
A leader of the team from MultiChoice, Francis Palm, described Global Television's broadcast quality as impressive within a significantly short period.
Having gone around and taking a look at your facilities and then your records within this short period that you've been on our platform, technically, I must say your service has been good, but there is always room for improvement. So we want to encourage you to keep up the good work you are doing.
This is the first inspection visit by MultiChoice to Global Television's facility. Uyi Agbomofwegbe, reporting for Global Television News.
On a well-deserved congratulations to Global Television. As a campaign for the November 16th gubernatorial election in Edo State intensifies, Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa has taken his campaign tour to Owo local government, receiving a warm welcome from traditional and community leaders as well as key stakeholders at the palace of the Olowo of Owo, Oba Ajibade Oguneye. Kikelomo Okere tells us more.
It was like a carnival at the University of Fortune. Igbo Tako, as billionaire business mogul and senator representing Ondo South Senatorial District, Senator Jimoh Ibrahim, leading over 500,000 Asheyori movement to All Progressive Congress. Jimoh Ibrahim urged residents of Igbo Tako community in Okitipupa local government area to shun violence and come out en masse to vote for All Progressive Congress on November 16 governorship election.
Asheyori movement is an arm of APC, which I set up. And when I contested last time, I got 111,665 votes. That's a lot of votes. Now our membership are 520,000 across the state. And that's very significant to any political party that want to win the election. APC is our party. And no matter the political differences, we have to make sure that APC wins the election. And the national chairman will be on our neck. And we are happy that he came all the way from Abuja. That underscored the significance of Asheyori. And I can assure you next week, we will vote massively for APC.
Many people have described you as a good philanthropist. The chairman, All Progressive Congress, Abdullahi Ganduje, says the convention is to motivate and encourage Asheyori members as well as appeal to them to come out en masse to exercise their franchise on the 16th of November. He applauds Senator Jimoh Ibrahim for laying a solid foundation in empowerment, infrastructure, among others, for the progress of the state.
I'm so happy to see this crowd. This crowd is intimidating. In fact, the quality of the crowd is also intimidating. The enthusiasm, the alertness, the preparedness for the coming election on the 16th November 2024, we are convinced you are ready for the election.
Ondo State Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa, who was also represented by his deputy Olaide Adelami, praised Senator Jimoh Ibrahim for bringing development to the community. He also pleaded with the residents to vote for APC for transformative regime.
When I got to this place, I was marveled when I saw the level of infrastructure that has been planted and placed there. It's a common saying that whoever brings education brings light. He has brought light to...
However, a 1-minute silence was observed in honor of the late former governor Akeredolu Olarotimi. From Akure, Kikelomo Okere, Global Television News.
Meanwhile, ahead of 2024 Ondo State gubernatorial election, the chairman, Asheyori Movement, and senator representing Ondo South, Senator Jimoh Ibrahim, has thrown his weight behind the All Progressive Congress. He made this known at the Asheyori Convention at Fortune University in Igbotuka Community, Okitikpupa local government area of Ondo State. The Court of Appeal in Abuja has constituted a special 3-member panel to handle political cases from Rivers State, with sittings scheduled to begin on November 14th. This move follows the escalating legal tussle stemming from a rift between Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara and his predecessor, the current Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike. The feud has led to a surge of legal cases from the state, creating fractions among political actors and resulting in conflicting judgments from courts of similar authority. In an effort to streamline the resolution of the dispute, Court of Appeal President Justice Monica Dagba-Mensem appointed a special panel to oversee all appeals related to the political crisis in Rivers. Over now to the Tertiary Education Trust Fund. TED Fund has held a 1-day strategic interactive engagement for heads of beneficiary institutions at its headquarters in Abuja. Ramsin Enoch Agbo now reports.
In an address of welcome, Executive Secretary of the fund, Architect Sonny Echono, says the TED Fund has made a significant stride in funding numerous projects to improve infrastructure and enhance research capability.
Over the past year, the fund has made significant strides, funding numerous projects aimed at improving infrastructure, enhancing research capabilities, and supporting faculty development. Indeed, with the kind permission of the Board of Trustees, we'll be meeting in a couple of days. We will be.
Echono also acknowledged that effort is in place to ensure the right tax is being paid for the purpose of efficiency.
To ensure that everybody that is supposed to be in the tax bracket is coming on board, we're also collectively working to improve the efficiency of collection, that people are paying the right amount of tax. And for this too, I also want to express our gratitude to our 2 committees in the National Assembly who have also worked diligently in this regard.
Also speaking at the event, Chairman, Board of Trustees of TED Fund, Aminu Masari, described as erroneous a view by some people that TED Fund intervention is meant to handle all responsibilities in education.
Some institutions will do apologies, and some people outside there see TED Fund not only as an intervention agency, but as an agency that will have to shoulder all responsibilities in education, which I believe is not right. I think it is our time we start to think.
The one-day strategic interactive engagement for heads of beneficiary institutions availed the heads of institutions the opportunity to air their views and make contributions to the smooth running of the intervention. Ramsey Enoch Agbo reporting for Global Television.
The Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, has reported a surge in Lassa fever cases with 1,035 confirmed infections and 174 deaths recorded across 28 states as of October 13, 2024. Speaking at a press briefing in Abuja, the Director General of the Center, Dr. Jide Idris, attributed the rise to improved surveillance, climate-related environmental changes, and increased rodent-to-human transmission. Queen Agaba has details.
Dr. Jide Idris attributed the increase in Lassa fever cases to environmental degradation and harmful human activities, which brings rodents closer to human settlements, thereby raising infection risks. Speaking on the economic and healthcare burden of the disease, Dr. Jide says as of October 13, 2024, Nigeria has recorded a total of 8,569 cases with 174 deaths across 28 states and communities in 129 local government areas.
A total of 2,281,750 doses have been given in Bauchi, Gombe, Jigawa and Yobe, covering 134 wards in 13 local government areas. The campaign targeted individuals aged between 1 and 29 years, comprising 70% of the population.
Dr. Idris emphasized that early diagnosis and treatment of Lassa fever is key to survival and urged the public to maintain hygiene, avoid self-medication and report suspected cases promptly.
We have continued to see a steady rise increase in the number of cases, states reporting Lassa fever cases, that's this year. And the rise is due in part to improved surveillance, better community awareness, environmental degradation from climate change, and other harmful human activities.
The NCDC reaffirmed its dedication to reducing infections through a collaborative, all-society approach to protect the health and well-being of Nigerians. For Global Television, Queen Agaba reporting.
The federal government has called on stakeholders in the building and construction sectors to be more proactive in generating solutions to the cause of increased building collapse in the country. Minister of the State for Industry, Trade and Investment, John Eno, made the call at the National Conference on the Building Construction Center organized by Standard Organization of Nigeria in Abuja. Kikelomo Okere tells us more.
The Minister of State for Industry, Trade and Investment, John Enoch, stressed the need to adhere strictly to recommended standards on building to ensure the safety of all. Enoch charged all stakeholders and regulatory authorities to focus more on areas of pre- and post-construction regulation, enforcement framework, public awareness and capacity building for better results delivery.
For example, compromising on what standards should be is almost becoming like the norm. It is to discuss issues of adherence to standards as the bedrock for sustainable development in our building and construction sector and our industry.
The Director General, Standard Organization of Nigeria, Ifeanyi Okeke, underscores the importance of eco-friendly practice and the use of sustainable material in construction. He says SON is focused on encouraging a resilient and self-reliant building and construction sector that serves as a backbone for economic growth, in line with the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's renewed hope agenda.
We are committed to working with other government agencies, professionals, associations, industry leaders and international partners to evolve a cohesive approach to to tackling quality and safety issues. I therefore urge all players in the sector to prioritize quality and safety above all else.
The President, Council of Registered Engineers of Nigeria, COREN, Professor Sadiq Zubair Abubakar, who was represented by his vice, Olaolu Ogundile, and the President, National Society of Engineers, Margaret Oguntola, charged the industry players to collaborate with Standard Organization of Nigeria in developing local standards that can address the peculiarities in the sector.
At the development or domestication of codes and standards in elaboration with key stakeholders such as the Nigerian Society of Engineers and its corresponding committee on codes and standards must not go unnoticed. But we need to do more.
Collaborated very well with SON in areas of compliance, monitoring, and all the rest, in ensuring that SON delivers on its mandate. And the NSC is committed to a continued and even more robust relationship.
The forum brings together stakeholders across the country who seek to chart a way forward to adherence to standard practice to end the menace of building collapse. Kike Lomo Okiri, Global Television News.
A powerful explosion shocked the city of Jos, sending shockwaves through surrounding communities. Eyewitnesses reported that the blast occurred around 10:30 a.m. near the densely populated Terminus Market area. Initial reports indicated that several people were injured in the blast, with some sources suggesting there may have been fatalities. The extent of the damage remains unclear, but witnesses describe scenes of destruction and chaos. Meanwhile, the Plateau State government has denied that an explosion rocked Jos, the state capital, describing it as only a bomb scare. This is despite reports of an explosion said to have occurred in the city on Tuesday morning, which sent panic among residents. Eyewitnesses had reported that the blast occurred around 10:30 a.m. near the densely populated Terminus Market area. The police public relations officer Alfred Alabo in a statement said the command received a report that an improvised explosion device was allegedly planted around the Murtala Way, Jos. You are watching AM News on Global Television, coming to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. When AM News return, petrol pump price may drop as Dangote marketers sign deal. Details of these and more as foreign and sports stories coming right after this break. Please stay with us. You're welcome back, and if you're just tuning in, this is AM News on Global Television. Thank you for staying with us. On our business desk, the federal government has announced that trade facilitation programs implemented by the current administration have increased the country's trade balance to 6.5 trillion naira in the second quarter of 2024. It stated that efforts to maximize economic opportunities ensured exports accountable for 60.89% or 19.42 trillion naira of total trade, representing a slight increase of 1.31% from 19.70 trillion naira in the first quarter of 2024 and 201.76% rise from 6.44 trillion naira in the second quarter of 2023. Now, Vice President Kashim Shettima said this at the third national conference on non-oil export organized by the Nigerian Export Promotion Council in Abuja. The National Bureau of Statistics says Nigerians' foreign exchange earnings grew in the second quarter of 2024 due to strong export performance, with the trade surplus increasing to 6.95 trillion naira. The chairman of the Presidential Fiscal Policy and Tax Reform Committee, Taiwo Oyelidele, says Nigerians earning minimum wage or little above it will exempt from the pay-as-you-earn tax under the new tax reforms. Oyedele disclosed this via his X handle as he answered questions about the tax reform bills. President Bola Tinubu has transmitted 4 tax reform bills to National Assembly for consideration. The tax reform bill, which stemmed from the recommendations of Oyedele's committee, have divided members of the National Assembly. The management of Dangote Refinery is set to meet with officials of the Petroleum Products Retail Outlet Owners Association of Nigeria to discuss direct petrol supply arrangements. This development comes a day after the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria announced it has reached an agreement with Dangote Refinery to purchase petrol directly, bypassing intermediaries. The association's publicity secretary, Joseph Obale, stated that the refinery had already sent an email to its president, Dr. Billy Harry, proposing a business meeting in the coming days. On our foreign scene now, U.S. President-elect Donald Trump is swiftly assembling his administration, appointing key allies to central positions in a bid to kickstart his policy agenda even before Inauguration Day. Within days of his election win, Trump has moved to full crucial roles, appointing well-known loyalists and signaling his intention to circumvent Senate confirmations for some positions. Among the prominent appointments, Trump has chosen Tom Homan, a headline advocate for strict immigration enforcement, as border Caesar, entrusting him with overseeing immigration and deportation policies. Additionally, New York Congresswoman Elise Stanflick, a close Trump ally and vocal supporter of Israel, have been picked by Trump for U.S. Ambassador to United Kingdom. Stanflick's nomination, if confirmed by the Senate, comes as the UN faces challenges from ongoing conflicts in Gaza and Lebanon, where she is expected to play a crucial role in representing U.S. interests and supporting allies. South Africa's unemployment rate decreased for the first time this year, dropping to 32.1% in the third quarter, down from 33.5% in the previous quarter, the country's official statistics agency reported. Africa's largest and most industrialized economy has for years struggled with high unemployment, with women and youth being disproportionately affected. The number of employed people increased by 294,000 during the quarter, according to statistics South Africa's quarterly labor force survey, while the number of unemployed individuals decreased by 373,000. Jobs were added in the community and social services sector, as well as construction, trade, mining, and transport. The government of Equatorial Guinea has filed a lawsuit against Baltasar Ngoga, the former Director General of the country's National Financial Investigation Agency, for alleged misconduct in connection with a sex tape scandal. The government stated that the action of the ex-anti-graft agency chief violates the ethical and moral values of noble Equatorial Guinea society. In a public address covered by local media platform, the Minister of Information announced that the Equatorial Guinean government, through the State Attorney General's office, would initiate a thorough investigation into the acts committed by Baltasar Ngoga. In sports now, many fireworks are expected as the maiden edition of the Varsity Cup Men's Football 2024 season ends at the main bowl of the University of Benin Sport Complex, Benin City, Edo State. The final match will be between the Comeback Kings, University of Ilorin, against the unbreakable Joseph Tarka University of Agriculture, Makudi. This will precede by a third-place match between Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, and University of Nigeria, Nsukka. Still on sports, ahead of preparation for the Super Eagles 2025 African Cup of Nations qualifier against Benin Republic, Moses Simon and Samuel Chukwueze were among the early birds of the Super Eagles Cup in Cote d'Ivoire. The Super Eagles media officer confirmed their arrival, saying no fewer than 8 players had arrived. He added that some others were still expected: Captain Williams Ekang, Ademola Lookman, Simon, reigning African Player of the Year. Victor Osimhen and 19 other players were invited for the qualifier. Now, as we end the AM News, let's take a quick look at our top stories again. Governor of Edo State, Senator Monday Okpebholo, and his deputy, Dennis Idahosa, have been sworn in. In business, the federal government has announced that trade facilitation programs implemented by the current administration have increased the country's trade balance to 6.5 trillion naira in the second quarter of 2024. On our foreign scene, U.S. President-elect Donald Trump is swiftly assembling his administration, appointing key allies to central positions in a bid to kickstart his policy agenda even before Inauguration Day. And finally, in sports, ahead of preparation for the Super Eagles 2025 African Cup of Nations qualifier against Benin Republic, Moses Simon and Samuel Chukwueze were among the early birds to the Super Eagles camp in Cote d'Ivoire. And that's it on AM News, and it came to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. A quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365, on Star Times channel 276, and free to air on Nicomsat. Now kindly follow us across all social media platforms now showing on your screen by using @Global TV NG. I am Jumai Manson. Thank you for watching. Good morning.
Global Morning is your ultimate destination for engaging political and economic matters. I am Uyi Agmofwebe.
And don't forget to include social discussions. Tune in every weekdays from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. I am Queen Agaba.
For insightful breakfast ideas, business summaries, sports highlights, international and local news perspective, I am Anthony Momodu.
Don't miss the in-depth analysis of current and political issues by the Global Morning team and experts. I am Jumai Manson.
Catch Global Morning here on Global Television. Get in on the action. I am Edikan Michael.
We are
the Global Morning team.
Business Point on Global Television.
The business world can be dynamic and unpredictable, with headwinds and volatility sometimes becoming an obstacle for players in the business and economy landscape. Watch Business Point on Global Television as Samuel Oji walks you through the twists, turns and curves in bands, stocks and crucial market indices from a global standpoint. Watch Business Point weekdays on Global Television at 11 a.m. West African time. Business Point. This is business. This is Imo State, southeast of Nigeria. As the wind of transformation blows across the eastern heartland, Imolites bask in the excitement of landmark developmental strides, cutting across health, education, infrastructure, economy, and job creation. Imo State in Focus brings you all the highlights of Governor Hope Uzodinma-led administration's impact on the lives of the good people of Imo State. Imo State in Focus, Sunday at 10:30 p.m. West African time on Global Television.
All right, welcome back from the Global AM News. It's still the Global Morning, and we're looking at all the issues. You must have heard all the big stories are making the rounds across the world. It tells us there's great need for great leaders and leadership and governance to make the world truly a better place. We've heard all forms of different news, the war in the Middle East, the scandal in the Equatorial Guinea, and also not forgetting the Trump era in the United States of America, and also the fight against insurgency right here in Nigeria. All right, all these are being championed by leaders of different shades and colors. But one key thing remains that the world is desirous of great leaders that would steer their nations in the right direction using integrity, character, and other virtues. So on today's edition of our talking points this morning, we are looking at breeding new political leaders that will ensure peace and unity across the world. We'll be looking at the criteria and the impact of breeding new political leaders. And we've got our guest who will be joining us via Zoom in the person of Janet Bolua Tife. She is the convener of the Youth Summit, Empower Youth Summit, and also a fellow of the EPLF, talking about Emerging Political Leaders Forum. She is a fellow there. So we'll be talking to her via Zoom to help us look at the issue of breeding new political leaders, what the criteria is, and what the impact will be at the end of the day. Good morning, Janet. Thank you for joining us on Global Morning. Good morning, Janet.
Hi, good morning.
Janet, we would love you to unmute your mic so that we can get your audio across.
Yes.
All right, hopefully we'll be discussing with Janet as regard the qualities that would ensure that Nigeria gets the new set of political leaders that will steer the country towards the right direction, especially as we seek to get out of the woods. So let's go for a very quick break. When we return from the break, we'll be hitting our discuss button. Stay with us.
Global Morning is your ultimate destination for engaging political and economic matters. I am Uyi Agmofrebe.
And don't forget to include social discussions. Tune in every weekdays from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. I am Queen.
All right, welcome back from the break. It's now time for us to hit the discuss button. Let's continue our conversations with Janet Boluwatife, who is the convener of Empower Youth Summit and also a fellow of the EPLF, talking about the Emerging Political Leaders Forum 2024. Janet, thank you for joining us on Global Morning.
Good morning. It's nice to be
All right, let's look at the issue. We know that across the globe, especially in the Middle East, in Europe, in Africa, we've had the issues of leadership, problem with a lot of leaders making some controversial calls that have caused instability and wars across the globe. Let's look at the topic. We're looking at breeding new set of leaders. What are the criteria and the impact this will have? And also being a fellow of the EPLF, can you take us through what the qualities of a leader?
Oh, yes. Thank you so much. It's a great pleasure to be here. And it's a very interesting conversation right here. Because one of the things is that with the young leaders, we've been stammering and we've been agitating to get the leadership position. And the experienced one, of course, they feel like we are not ready yet. Yeah, of course, they are right if we look into it, because there are so many young people that know what they want to do, but they do not even know how to get there. So that you don't just become an accidental leader. So there are times that you can actually become an accidental leader. And when you become an accidental leader, you just went into something and they give you the opportunity to lead. But because you have not gone through some process and some reshaping, some refining, so your output might not be as good as what we want it to be. We are looking for a better leader than what we have presently. We know that our leaders might have failed us or something, but we are trying to find a way on how we can do better, not just by mouth. You can think like you want to do better, or you can do better when you get there if you have not gone through this stage. But when you get there without preparing, it's going to be a huge mountain to you to want to cross over. So now going through this kind of programs and all that, I think it's very, very important for young leaders to always go through programs, especially being an EPLF, Emerging Political Leaders Fellowship, fellow of the EPLF. It's been able to help shape some of the things that we do on how you can be much more prepared, on how you're supposed to work on the little things like connection, like your network, how you can leverage your network, how you can converse, how you can do civic engagement, how you can think about what is actually going on in your environment. So my program was born out of being a fellow of an EPLF, and I had to do a civic engagement that was on security for the young people in my community, because I'd gone through the stage and I want to put it.
We're asking, first of all, before we get into the qualities of a leader, what can you say you've noticed, or the things you've picked out as the things that the current leaders are doing wrong that these emerging political leaders can correct? Can you tell us some of the highlights of the things you think these current leaders are doing wrong that emerging political leaders can correct?
Firstly is accountability. Can you hear me?
Okay, go ahead.
Can you hear me? Firstly is accountability. Firstly is accountability. Most of our leaders, they don't think that they should be accountable for their constituents. Fine, you see a young person that wants to go and speak with our leaders right now to ask questions and on something that is going on in their community, and the kind of response that they will get will not be favorable. They will feel like I drive you an answer to that or something like that. So as a young leader, you have to be accountable. You have to learn to be accountable, even to the least person in your constituency. Now, what our leaders presently do not have is that accountability. The skill and the opportunity to be able to share your idea, share it with everybody, both young and old in your constituency, to be able to work together with you. So that is one of the most important one that young leaders must have, that our present leaders do not have. And also respect. good leaders must respect everyone. You shouldn't think being a leader is not for you to is for you to serve your people. It's not for you to be a boss over them. You're supposed to serve them. So, and when you're serving someone, it's like I'm working in your organization and I'm working with you as you're my boss. As much as I might be the one leading or something like that, but I'm also working for you. I'm working for the organization, so I have to be responsible for the organization. Another one is stability. Most of our leaders, they do not have a strong sense of stability, and they are not really that reliable. You'll be sure at what you expect from them.
All right,
So easy now for them to close the V. Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. Okay. So they are not they are not focused, like they're not focused on one direction. They can just fly around, do this today, and then the next thing you hear them they're doing the other thing around. So they're not stable. They're not a focus, and these are the qualities that a young leader must have. People must be able to know one thing about you, what you stand for. You must be able to stand for one thing and stand for the right thing. Hello, are you still with me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh yes, thank you. So as I was saying, they must be able to now the public do not trust our present leaders. Let's agree with that. But then the young leaders must be able to improve public trust so much so that people can trust you. Politics is grassroots, right? We know that politics is grassroots. What do your people want to say about you? It's not something that must be reading. You must be an excellent leader. You must you must walk your way there, walk your way thoroughly there, not just emerge or just push your way in there.
All right, when you talk about public trust, why do you think there's a deficit in public trust with our leaders?
Oh, so presently there is our leaders are not the kind of people that you can trust right now, because you'll be shocked at the kind of things that they're doing. The budget padding, not living up to the expectation. When they are coming out for their manifesto, they tell you that they're going to do all this. They will bring the mountains down. They will make there to be water in the desert and all. But by the time they get there, they start giving you a story. I mean, one of the ways that you can build trust with people is know your limitation. Let people know that this is what you stand for, this is what you can do, this is what, and then you are working alongside with what they actually need. You're working alongside with what they actually need, not what you need. You don't put your own need first before the people's need. And when a leader is accessible, it also helps build the public trust, because presently our leaders are not accessible. How many people can access their reps or even their state house of assembly? How many people can access them? When you even give them a call that you want to have a conversation with them, they are not accessible in their office, they're not accessible anywhere. So much so that when you want to ask questions, if you do not have a conversation with someone to know that, okay, this want to know their roadmap on where they are going, what their intention is, you will not be able to trust them with what they are doing in the first place. But if they can try to start having this conversation and coming down to their people's level, sharing things with their people, with their constituents, it will actually build trust. But presently, our leaders lack it.
Let's talk about the issue of communication and listening of leaders. How would you describe the governments across the world and in Nigeria, for instance, in terms of government listening to its people and communicating with its people? What do you think? How key is that for the emerging leaders?
Yes, one of the reasons why let me start by saying that one of the reasons why, as a young person, as a young leader that wants to go into leadership, it is important for you to go through these programs and this process, is so that you don't replicate what we presently have. The communication gap between our leaders and the people is so wide. Our leaders presently don't think they owe anyone a single word. They don't think they owe them any explanation to what they are doing presently. They feel like they are doing what they want to do by themselves, for themselves, not for the people. But as a young person that is emerging, this is something that we're trying to make sure that we do not replicate. We're trying to bridge. We're trying to make sure that it is very, very important. So communication is very, very important. Now imagine a young person, a young leader that just emerged in any position, having a kind of a weekly newsletter or a weekly radio conversation where the people can call in, ask questions, raise suggestions. Your office is open to receive suggestions, to receive letters, and all that. People will feel like they are being heard. They will feel important, because that is what you say you want to go and do for them, that you want to go and represent them. But the people that you are representing, when last did you even hear from them? You are representing someone that you don't even know what the person needs. That is wrong. So as a young leader, most especially as a young person that wants to go into leadership, it is very, very important to go through all the stages so that you can build your communication. You'll be shocked at which people think that you communicate right, that you do not even know that you communicate right. You might think communication is just about talking, just about me calling, making a phone call, or just this. That is not just that. There are so many things that are involved in communication as well. So this program is going to shape you, and the programs that you go through, the learnings that you go through will shape you on how you can communicate better, the effective way to communicate with your constituents and how to represent them better. I hope I was able to answer that.
Let's take two more values before we wrap it up. Let's look at the issue of leaders leading by example and also having the growth mindset. How key are these factors?
Hello, I couldn't hear you.
I said as we wrap up, let's look at these two key factors: leaders that lead by example and leaders with the growth mindset. How key are these two for emerging leaders in the country and across the globe?
Oh yes. So let me start by saying, so someone said, "Do what I say, but don't do what I do." I mean, how is that possible? You want people to be better, but you're not doing the better thing. You preach out things that people are doing that are wrong, but you yourself, you're not doing the right thing. It is so important for our young leaders to learn on how to build legacy. Legacy is the most important thing. What will people say after you're gone? Now, not just you, whatever you have learned, whatever you're doing that is right, you have to build a legacy with it, and that you're going to be passing on to your generations. Because if you lead these people, their children might have to be the one to lead your children. So what legacy are you passing on to the people that you are leading, that you want them to imitate or to copy out, so that by the time their children is leading your children will be in a better space? How many of our young leaders, how many of our leaders presently can leave their children to the hands of the people that they are leading presently? Not many of them. But when our young leaders, the emerging ones, try as much as possible to make sure that legacy is of importance to them, and the kind of legacy, the right legacy that they want to leave, building on the great relationship, good character, accountability, and all that, it will up with the younger generations that are coming after us, and we will be able to be safe and leave our children into their own hands to lead.
How key is mentorship in terms of for these emerging leaders, in as much as yes, they might have noted some of the lapses of our past leaders. How key is mentorship for these emerging leaders to be complete leaders at the end of the day, more efficient?
Yeah, so you might think you know it. You might think you know it all, but you still need the older experience, older generation experience to be able to know how you can maneuver things. Now, mentorship is of key importance, and it was what we experienced yesterday, where we had a chance of meeting some older leaders to mentor us and to talk to us on the right way. And so in the words of Honorable Nena, she mentioned that relationship is key when you are growing, in whatever way you are growing. Like, you need someone that will be able to speak well about you somewhere, anywhere. So mentorship is very, very important so that they can help you groom your way and know the right way. So you just go, you might think like, I know the way that I'm going, I want to go through this line, but it might not be the right way for you to go. So when you have a mentor that is grooming you, that is mentoring you on what to do and what not to do, it makes your journey faster, because this person has gone through it before, and this person knows what came out of it. He or she knows how he was able to maneuver this particular situation. So when you have mentor, look at our leaders. How many of them, most of them, when they are talking or when you hear them give you their experience or their life experience, they are always either pointed to one mentor or the other that had helped them in shaping or in becoming what they became. So as a young person, you have to take mentorship as a very important, which is what I am also going to start doing right now, to find someone that is going to groom me and make me a better person.
For joining us this morning on Global Morning, and she is the convener of the Empower Youth Summit and also a fellow of the EPLF 2024. Thank you for joining us, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, that's how we're going to call it a wrap on the first discourse. So we'll go for a quick break. On the top of the hour, we'll be having Honorable Chinenye Onyeke, who will be joining us to look at the issue of upholding national values of nationhood, the roles of present and past leaders is what we're looking at after this quick break. Stay with us.
Is your ultimate destination for engaging political and economic matters. I am Uyi Agmofrebe.
And don't forget to include social discussions. Tune in every weekdays from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. I am Queen Agaba.
For insightful breakfast ideas, business summaries, sports highlights, international and local news perspective, I am Anthony Momodu.
Don't miss the in-depth analysis of current and political issues by the Global Morning team and experts. I am Jumai Manson.
Catch Global Morning here on Global Television, getting on the action. I am Edikan Michael.
We are
the Global Morning team.
Business Point on Global Television.
The business world can be dynamic and unpredictable, with headwinds and volatility sometimes becoming an obstacle for players in the business and economy landscape. Watch Business Point on Global Television as Samuel Oji walks you through the twists, turns and curves in bands, stocks and crucial market indices from a global standpoint. Watch Business Point weekdays on Global Television at 11 a.m. West African time. Business Point. This is business. This is Imo State, southeast of Nigeria. As the wind of transformation blows across the eastern heartland, Imolites bask in the excitement of landmark developmental strides cutting across health, education, infrastructure, economy, and job creation. Imo State in Focus brings you all the highlights of Governor Hope Uzodinma-led administration's impact on the lives of the good people of Imo State. Imo State in Focus, Sunday at 10:30 p.m. West African time on Global Television.
Welcome back from the break. You're still watching Global Morning, and the next discourse, like I promised, we'll be looking at very interesting talking point. We're looking at upholding the values of nationhood, the roles of our past and present leaders is what we're looking at. Another person, Honorable Chineme Onyeke, who is the DG of the Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe Foundation, otherwise known as the Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe Annual Lecture and Awards Foundation, is my guest, and he will be helping us to look at this very interesting talking point this morning. Good morning, and thank you for joining us in the studios.
Thank you very much, Mr. Soni. Thanks for having me today.
All right, let's look at in terms of nationhood and values of a nation, and we know that just like from the home front, is the values the parents uphold. That's what the children grow up to meet and grow with, just like a nation. Looking at the values of a nation, what would you itemize as the values of any great nation?
Well, every great nation has a principle, has a foundation upon which it was conceived, established, and built. And for that nation to grow, it needs to improve on those laid down principles, foundations, for it to attain a greater height. You don't just wake up and have a child, for instance. You plan to have a child.
True.
You work towards having a child. You have a child. You nurture the child to what you want that particular child to be. Same way the nation is. There's founding fathers of this Nigeria, as case may be.
Okay.
They had their plans. They have their aspirations. They have what they expect Nigeria to be. They projected 100 years to come. We are not up to 100 years. Have we attained that height? Are we living the life that they envisage? truth is that a lot of values have been lost.
Well, first of all, what would you term as the values? And when you say founding fathers, yes, we remember some. Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe is mentioned as one. Ahmadu Bello, Sardauna is mentioned as another. Awolowo is mentioned. These are the founding fathers. But what values would you say each of them? Because they seem to all have come from different regions and came with their own regional interest. Would you say our founding fathers actually had a unified value system, or what they had was interest?
Okay, despite the fact that they are coming from different ethnic background, religious background, they had the interest of the nation at heart. They have this nationalistic thoughts.
Okay, nationalistic. Okay.
Thoughts. They believe in a united Nigeria. Yes, some come from north, east, and west, but they see Nigeria as an umbrella body that is holding them. Despite their interests, personal interests, they always come to a round table where they discuss that this is Nigeria. We need to protect Nigeria first before our personal interests. So they had that value of upholding the national unity, national interests, expectations of the country as a primary and a guiding force that united them as it were then. So to me, they may have their different personal interests, but that nationalistic thought, that united Nigeria never lacked in them. Yes, as you said, Zik, for instance, let me use him as a person.
Yes.
Zik was willing to sacrifice so many personal interests for the interests of the country.
Okay, can you give us some examples to that effect?
Okay. Zik accepted to be Governor General, ceremonial president. He could have said no. As of that time, he had the capacity to become anything he so wished then. But for the interest and for the United Nigeria, he just chose to be a ceremonial president and allows her to be the head of government. You understand? So these are some prizes, personal prizes,
and value he placed
for United Nigeria among self. So these are the things they lived for that is actually currently lacking now. Obviously, a lot is lacking now.
Why do you think our founding fathers were able to come to a round table, put Nigeria first, despite having their own personal interest and regional interest to protect? They were still able to come to a round table. Why is it more difficult at this time?
Well, when you look at their background, there's one unique thing about them. They are not corrupt. They are not selfish. They are not interested in personal materialistic,
like wealth
and all that. They are interested in social benefit, economic benefit, political benefit of the country as a focus, as an interest, more than how they will benefit as a person. Unlike now, every person who is aspiring for any political interest have only one thing at mind: going to get his own personal national cake. When your aspiration is about personal gain, you are bringing nothing to the table. And once you are bringing nothing to the table, the system will not work. So that's why we are actually where we are now. So the founding fathers buried their selfish interests. They were not interested in personal wealth. I may also use Zik, for instance. Zik built a flat of about 18 hostels in University of Nigeria, Nsukka. When he noticed that the university is lacking accommodation, he gave it out to the school. He said, I don't know how long I'm going to stay, but one day I'll leave. Let it be written that it's sold, even though it was just a gift from me to university. So tomorrow nobody will come and say it's their property. He dashed that part, 18 hostels to the University of Nigerian Soccer. How many of our leaders today will sacrifice such? They won't try it. They will rather acquire more. But this one is giving out. At his 80th birthday or so, or 76th birthday, he gave it to University of Nigerian Soccer as a gift. This is some sacrifice. Somebody who will do that, obviously, he will not have personal interest in a massive wealth for personal use. So these are the kind of things that they found.
Can we say because he was also an activist, because they were fighting for the independence of the country, that was why their focus was that way? And also the issue of political parties, current political parties seem to have the interest of amassing enough money for their own political parties, especially like expression of forms and all that. I know in 2020 you did go in for the Soccer local government area. Drawing from that example, can you give us more as regards upholding values? Now, why it's difficult to uphold values? Look at your experience in 2020.
Okay, using myself as a case studies is actually a bad omen in the political sector of the country, as it were. Using local government as a case study, I aspired. I have the mandate and the support of
the people. Yeah, it was obvious.
But the authorities that be, once you can say, I don't like this, once you can challenge some of their activities, you're already a marked person. They don't want you close around them.
Why? Okay. Is that not something that should give to the people, just like Zik gave to the people?
That's what we are saying. The values are lacking. Selflessness lacking. It's all about personal interest. The governors won't want you to come and say that this allocation is allocation for this local government and therefore should be used for the local government benefits. Okay. You can't have me as a chairman of a council and you determine for me how I will run the council, how I will run the mandate given to me by the people. It's not possible. And once you are someone who will say so, the authorities, those political class, will not give you a chance. And the reason why they will not give you a chance is because there is benefit they are driving from the local government fund. That they don't want any person who will come and say, this will not be. Once you say this will not be, they will never allow you to come close. So we are talking about lacking in values. Selflessness is gone. And until we have a proper value orientation of selflessness, love for a country first.
Patriotism now.
Yes, until patriotism start playing its role. If this is still the way they are now, we are going nowhere. Everybody is actually enjoying the system as it were now. It's because of some of the foundations we laid few years back. And you don't expect it to be corrected a day. The pains, the silence we kept, the mute we kept, will keep hurting us. It happened, say, 10 years, 8 years, 9 years, 7 years, till this day. We kept mute when things were going wrong. Shouting now will not change that 8 years mistakes. Assuming we shouted then, some of these things we are seeing today would have been corrected. We won't be able to see it today. but we kept mute because it's from my place or from his place. And because it's from my place, everything he do is right. So do we all enjoy the what we are buying for, what we are buying food items and all that? We're not that talking about where you come from. Everybody is involved because we kept mute when we shall spoke. So to me, we need a true value orientation. Our leaders, as of today, should start thinking of nation, love for a nation. This issue of that you are coming from this side of the country, you are not qualified to hold this position or that position, is not spoken, but in attitude, in principle, then you see it happening. It will keep breeding hatred. It will keep breeding, doesn't concern me. Whatever they do is their business. Until we see this country as our country, start contributing our little quota, that's how little it is, to the greatness of this country, we will keep suffering. And it will keep getting worse. I don't praise so, yes, but the reality is just there.
Okay, let's look at the role of institutions. You talked about Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe donating 18 hostels to support the University of Nigeria and Nsukka. Yes. How key are these institutions, the educational institutions and other government institutions that are supposed to uphold these values? The judiciary, for instance, that have become emerged in a lot of controversial rulings. How key are these institutions for us to be able to uphold our values as a nation?
Truth to be told, our institutions are dead.
Wow.
No gainsaying or pretending. Using education institution, for instance, that 18 hostels donated by Zik years back is in a moribund state. The hostel is dead. You know why? Because the university authorities are encouraging private business developers to develop their personal hostels.
That's their own personal
hostels. Just like a doctor who is working in a general hospital and have a private hospital.
Or
diverting so many patients to his private hospital. They allowed 18 block hostel to die. This 18 would accommodate 3,000 students, but they allow it to decay just to establish their own. This is a behavior of authorities in the university. This, then, for example, then a score for a pay. Some people don't read these days. You come to university, you will see a student, one student, coming in with a car over 30 million, and the lecturer is striking. That lecturer can be bought. Because the lecturers, the teachers are not encouraged. When you are paying somebody 3,000, for instance, and his monthly expenditure is 400,000, you cannot pay the thing. Forget the amount of money. The important is, what is his basic expenditure for the month? If the basic expenditure for the month is 400,000 and they are paying 350, 380, you have not paid that person. That person is a willing to corrupt entities. Give the person money, he will award mark to you. Give the person money, he will graduate you. So our educational institution is dying. Parents are not left out here. Reason, some parents are paying special centers, miracle centers for ordinary WAEC. These are basic foundation you are laying for your children. Or even in private school, some parents compromise teachers to award their awards mark during exams, so that they can boast, my child made AO, my child got first, got second. second first that he or she can defend. Education is actually dying, and it is multinational reason that is involved. Lack of motivation, lack of encouragement, and the parental corrupt mindset. That is then coming to Nigeria judiciary. It is actually nothing to write home about. A common man has lost hope.
But they are supposed to help uphold the values of the nation.
Suppose. But they are not. There are three types of government.
Okay.
They are an establishment that should have been a balancing force. When you are challenged, you find succor where they are. But today, if you are challenged, you can't find succor there except you have money to buy. Obviously, there's no hiding. There's no reason of hiding or pretending. Most of the judgment delivered today are money induced, gift induced.
Though, why is that? Is it like the value system, even in judiciary, is also...
The value system is gone. And the painful aspect that is happening in an establishment that should have been checkmating this. The judiciary, they say judiciary is the last hope of a common man. Is no longer last hope of a common man. Is last hope for a well-to-do money-back person. Just make the money anyhow. Police will charge you, pay the judge. He will just use one technicality, bury the truth, and uphold technicality. Technicality influenced by money. So our judicial system is gone. That's why we're saying value system of the country is collapsed.
Okay. Still, aside the judiciary, just to take it back a little bit to the education sector, I hear you say the fact that they are poorly paid. What about what is being taught in schools? Because if the people are not learning or being taught about national pride, patriotism, could that be also a factor? The fact that people do not see the reason, or is the fact that the country itself is not treating them well?
Yes, the truth is that a country that failed to understand its history won't know their founding principle. In Nigeria, for instance, you are aware that history is being cancelled in our secondary education.
Wasn't that a blunder by the government?
It's very bad for somebody to wake up one day and say that history should not be taught in the school. History is people's way of life, people's value system. When you say history should not be taught, obviously you said people's way of life should not be learned. People's value system should not be taught. People's culture, people's everything about people, you say should not be discussed again. So how do you think the country will grow with this? It's not possible. So my thinking that the reintroduction of the history studies, not only in our secondary school, even in the primaries, we should start telling our children from primary school, this is how we do things. This is how we do this. This is how we do that. If you do this, this is the repercussion. If you do that, this is the repercussion. But when you don't tell them, they learn only from television, from social media, that is already their own way of life. That's why you see a child, you see a parent, you have a baby boy of 3 years, you have already made his hair like a woman. Dressing him, you have already imparted that this is a way of life. Most of our modern day parents don't even have that values. So they teach only what they learn through social media. And social media to me is a corrupt place where you learn both good and bad. And of course, bad seems to be dominating because that is what is pace now. If you want people to watch your content or whatever, just be funny with something that shouldn't even be discussed. And you see people going to know what is there. So that's how we have reduced our society, our value system. Yes.
Okay, now we were talking about the roles. Now we've at least highlighted the fact that values of integrity, patriotism, integrity, those have been eroded. Nationalism all eroded. Now let's look at what can we say should be the roles of our past leaders like Nnamdi Azikiwe, Sardauna, and others. What was and should be their roles, the past and the present leaders, as a way of upholding values now?
Well, to me, the past leaders have come and gone.
Yeah.
They did their own very best by giving us independence. They fought for it, they championed it, and we have it today.
But do you think they also did keep something we can hold on to? Like we had Moses in the Bible kept the 10 commandments for people to follow suit. Would you say they also did keep theirs?
That's what we are saying here. They left a value of national unity, a value for one united Nigeria. These are some of the commandments. It may not be 10 commandments, but that 2 or 3 commandments, which is Nigeria first, they lived and died for it. Love for the fatherland, they lived and died for it. Selflessness, they lived and died for it. Unlike what is obtainable today, where you are given an appointment based on where you are coming from. You are recognized for an assignment where you are coming from. The values, the distance, the gap between the past leaders and today's leaders are just vast. Because the past leaders stood their ground. They had their own challenges, no doubt about that.
Okay.
But they fought to keep uniting the country, sacrificing personal gains, denying themselves some gains, as case may be, unlike what we are seeing and having today, where someone will just be interested in what am I going to gain from the authority. America will say, what are you going to give to your country? Not what your country will give to you. Here we are telling what the country will give to us, not what we are going to give to the country. They are not the way things should be. They are not the way things should be. The founding fathers has done their own and go. Any areas they failed, is our duty today to correct it, modify it to our own general benefit, not destroying even the basic ones they did. So the gap and the challenge is just there, is just facing all of us, that things are not the way they are. They should actually, and it is biting and it's doing no one a good at all.
Okay, all right, let's look at, I think I will just go for a very quick break. When we return from this break, we'll be looking at some of the things that can be done to immortalize our past leaders and also serve as a reminder of what values are and what our past leaders held as values which we should uphold going forward. That will be after this break. Stay with us. All right, welcome back from the break. You're still watching Global Morning, and we're reaching the last lap of the discourse, and we still have in the studio the Director General of the Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe Annual Lecture Foundation, in the person of Honorable Chineme Onyeke, who is joining us live in the studio and helping us look at issues, how we can uphold our values of nationhood and the roles of our past and present leaders. Let's look at how best we can compel our present leaders, so to say, to uphold the values of our past leaders in terms of nationalism, territorial integrity, and legal equity. What are ways we can inspire our present leaders to, uphold those values? Do you think political awards or, appreciation could help that route?
Anyways, I agree with you. For instance, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe Annual Award Lecture Series we organize every year is an event we organize and hold every 16th November. 16th November is a day that Zik was, that was his birthday. And we say it as a way of recognizing the life, the philosophy, the things he lived and died for. We should be marking his birthday with an annual award lecture. Then, you mentioned about how can this
current leaders be compelled to uphold values of nationhood.
First, why award is given to few is for others to be inspired by that. If I'm giving you an award now, I'm giving you an award, for instance, as a best presenter for morning breakfast show, because you have distinguished yourself in this angle. We're not giving you an award because you paid, no. We are giving you an award because we want others to emulate these good qualities, good attributes of presenting the morning breakfast show which you host. Then our current leaders can be encouraged by the things we are doing today. Note, when you are gone, people might start remembering you every year based on what you have lived and died for. It can inspire them. But it's our current leaders also inspired, appreciating the efforts of the previous leaders. If you are not doing so, then there's no way you expect to be recognized tomorrow. Why do I say this? Zik, for instance. Nigeria is supposed to declare every 16th November as a national day for Zik. It's not impossible. If you can have 1st October, have June 12th, have this, have that, and we declare it a national day, what will it cost Nigeria? When you declare 16th November, for instance, a public holiday because of Zik, you have already challenged Nigerians who are not going to be going to work that day to study about Zik. In so doing, they may end up learning some values that they are lacking. Some say, okay, let's actually start living the next life of Zik. Maybe tomorrow I will be remembered and things like this could be done for me. Nothing stopped Nigeria from establishing a National Study Institute for the life of Zik or the life of some of our founding fathers. All this establishment is a way of encouraging the younger generation. You are not doing it for them because they are not here to benefit from it. You are challenging the upcoming ones to live a life of emulation, a life of dignity, a life of value. So to me, the current national leaders can be inspired by the little thing we are doing for the dead, for the past leaders. They also have a role to play by recognizing them themselves. Recognize the past leaders and live a worthy life, that tomorrow you can be remembered by because no leader stay forever.
Sure.
You do your own, you will go. Someone will come on board. If you want them to remember, appreciate, and recognize you, start living a life that people will say, hey, when he was there, this was like this was like that. Assuming he's there, this won't be happening, this won't be happening. These are the things that the current leaders are lacking, and that they're not even taking towards that. So are they living anything that they will be remembered for? I'm not sure they are doing that.
Would you say Goodluck Jonathan, what he did, considering the defeat?
Goodluck is just a pure, different Nigerian. Goodluck, about 4 years ago, we gave him an award, Defender of Democracy Award. He was there in person. And why did we do that? He did what is not common with an African man. He had the capacity to change an INEC chairman before that day because he was told. He had capacity to stop the election in between because there's under 8 children voting here and there, as the case may be, or what we saw there as the case may be. But for the love for the fatherland, he said no. No single blood of a Nigerian worth my being in the office. So he sacrificed that office for the love of the country. So Goodluck lived a life that is a life of emulation. And no wonder, he's a beacon in an African country now. He's an icon. If you need peace, if there's a challenge, any challenge situation in any country, he is the person they are called for. Life is an example. So if you don't have such a background, how do you think they will call you to come and if you rig yourself into an election, into a deposition, will they call you to come and monitor election or the elsewhere tomorrow? They will not, because they know you are bringing nothing to the table. So the life of Goodluck is a different life of African man. And that's why Goodluck, he's celebrated today. Unfortunately, the celebration given to him is not adequate. And I know when he leaves now, people will start celebrating him. It's usually the way it is that done here. Life, God is celebrating Zeke because he sacrificed his personal gain for a united Nigeria.
As we begin to wrap our conversation up, let's look at the people themselves. Do you think Nigerians and the citizens of Nigeria have not also done enough to emulate our past leaders, or even technically try to compare their leaders to emulate those values which they also know are the right values? Or do you think they're handicapped?
Truth is that they're handicapped. No need denying the fact that they are handicapped. Like we discussed earlier, when a history is expunged from the curriculum of a secondary institution, how do you think they will know the abode of life? Do you understand this? So the citizens are challenged. They are frustrated to see anything that gives money as a norm, as a way of life. If you enter government today and they don't pack money, you are people who will curse you. They don't see the other person when he was in government. They don't see the houses he built. Houses, personal houses, not the roads he built, not the boreholes he brought. They say, don't you see his houses here and there? Houses, his houses. Just the same way Nigerians will be sit on a TV stand watching the football, saying, that's my team, that's my player, that's my, we are winning, we are winning. We. Those footballers don't know the existence. It's the same thing we are facing here. The citizens are really not encouraged because the destruction is there from top. And it keeps going down. The sun starts from the top, it keeps going down. And it was na mmiri shinishi barwo. Any mmiri shinishi barwo,
Any? Can you give us in English? Any water that comes from the top?
Any water that spoiled from the top.
Top, okay.
There's no way you expect that to have a clean water down there.
Oh,
the source of it
is already
polluted.
Oh, so if anything coming down,
whatever coming down from it is spoiled along the line. So it's there from the top. It's going down. So the only area you can change it, if a leader
from the top,
from the top, living upright, he can say, "I don't want this to happen," and that will not happen because you see him living that life. But when you can steal to do the way you want, and you exhibit the corrupt tendency, and you exhibit the wealth you stole, to see, what do you expect? It becomes a way of life. Operation, go and get your own. So the things are just as bad as that.
All right, that's how much time is going to allow us to take on today's edition of the program. Global Morning. I want to say a big thank you to the DG of the Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe Annual Lecture and Award Foundation, and the person of Honorable Chinyeme Onyeke, who joined us live in the studios to help us see how we can uphold values of nationhood and the roles of our past and present leaders. Thank you very much for joining us in the live studio.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate you people.
All right, I will go for a quick break. When we return from this break, we'll be wrapping up Global Morning. Please stay with us.
Global Morning is your ultimate destination for engaging political and economic matters. I am Uyi Agmofwebe.
And don't forget to include social discussions. Tune in every weekdays from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. I am Queen Agaba.
For insightful breakfast ideas, business summaries, sports highlights, international and local news perspective, I am Anthony Momodu.
Don't miss the in-depth analysis of current political issues by the Global Morning team and experts. I am Jumai Manson.
Catch Global Morning here on Global Television. Getting on the action. I am Edikan Michael.
We are
the Global Morning team.
Business Point on Global Television.
The business world can be dynamic and unpredictable, with headwinds and volatility sometimes becoming an obstacle for players in the business and economy landscape. Watch Business Point on Global Television as Samuel Oji walks you through the twists, turns and curves in bands, stocks and crucial market indices from a global standpoint. Watch Business Point weekdays on Global Television at 11 a.m. West African time. Business Point. This is business. This is Imo State, southeast of Nigeria. As the wind of transformation blows across the eastern heartland, Imolites bask in the excitement of landmark developmental strides, cutting across health, education, infrastructure, economy, and job creation. Imo State in Focus brings you all the highlights of Governor Hope Uzodinma-led administration's impact on the lives of the good people of Imo State. Imo State in Focus, Sunday at 10:30 p.m. West African time on Global Television.
All right, welcome back from the break. This is what we're going to be calling it a wrap on today's edition of the program, Global Morning, Africa's finest breakfast show. And it's been interesting talking about upholding values of nationhood, the roles of our past and present leaders, and also we talked about emerging political leaders to the promised land. My name is Arthur Morgan, saying thank you for being part of today's edition. I've got my beautiful co-anchor by my side.
And of course, I am Jumai Manson. Thank you all so much for being there. And of course, the new leaders that are emerging, do the needful, do the right thing. It is very important to make it better and greater when you are in office. Thank you all so much for being there. Join us same time tomorrow. Of course, I am Jumai Manson. Bye.
Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call a police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from.
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
The struggle with ASU strike.
The Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.